Adrian Hale had everything a man could want, at least from the outside. His name was in newspapers, his face on magazine covers. His company was one of the most successful in the country. People whispered about his brilliance, his determination, his drive to turn anything into gold. But behind the polished exterior, behind the power and the prestige, there was only silence. His house, a sprawling mansion with wide glass windows and marble floors, had become a place of echoes. Years ago, he had lost the love of his life in a sudden accident, and with her went the family they had always dreamed of building. Since then, Adrian had drowned himself in work, believing if he could achieve enough, if he could be powerful enough, it would fill the aching emptiness inside. Yet every night when the city lights dimmed and the world fell quiet, he was left alone with nothing but his thoughts and a heart that felt heavier with each passing day. One cold winter morning, Adrian found himself in a part of the city he hadn't visited in years. His driver slowed at a stoplight near an old, weathered brick building. The sign above its gate read St. Mary's Orphanage. Adrian wasn't sure why his eyes lingered there, but something inside him stirred. When his driver asked if he should keep going, Adrian surprised even himself when he said no. He stepped out of the car, the winter air biting against his skin, and walked slowly through the iron gates. He hadn't planned this, he didn't even know why he was there. But as he walked inside, the sound of children's laughter floated down the hallway, carrying a kind of raw innocence he hadn't felt near in years. The lobby smelled faintly of old books and bread baking somewhere in the back. Adrian was just about to leave when a small figure appeared before him. A little girl, no more than 7, stood with messy braids and wide, searching eyes. She clutched a teddy bear that had clearly seen better days, its ear missing and fur worn thin. She stared at him as if trying to read his soul, then tilted her head and asked the one question that made his breath catch. "Are you here to be my dad?" The world seemed to freeze around him. Adrian, who had faced investors, critics, and ruthless competitors without ever flinching, suddenly found himself unable to speak. The innocence of her question, the raw hope and fear wrapped inside it, pierced straight through his defenses. He wanted to tell her no, to explain that he had just wandered in, that he wasn't the kind of man who could be anyone's father anymore. But his voice failed. The little girl didn't wait for an answer. She gave a tiny shrug, the kind that spoke of too many disappointments for someone her age, and turned away, hugging her teddy tighter. "Leila," she whispered when he asked her name, and then she disappeared down the hall, leaving Adrian standing in stunned silence. That night, her words echoed in his mind. "Are you here to be my dad?" He tossed and turned in bed, the memory of her eyes refusing to fade. He told himself it was just a moment, a child's question, nothing more. But the next morning, without really planning to, he found himself back at St. Mary's. He told the staff he wanted to donate supplies, but the truth was he wanted to see her again. And he did. Leila walked right up to him, slipped her small hand into his, and began talking as if he had always been there. Adrian, a man who lived behind walls of glass and steel, felt something shift inside him. He started visiting often, sometimes under the excuse of sponsoring meals, sometimes just to read stories to the children. But no matter what, it was Leila he looked for. She told him bits and pieces of her life. Her parents had died in a car accident. She had no family left. She had been waiting in the orphanage for nearly 2 years. And yet, she carried herself with a quiet hope, as if some part of her still believed someone would come for her. She loved to draw little houses, and in every drawing there was always a family inside. A mother, a father, and a child that always looked like her. Adrian found himself saving those drawings, folding them carefully as if they were more valuable than the $1,000,000 contracts on his desk. The more time he spent with her, the more he laughed, something he hadn't done in so long he barely recognized the sound. The children didn't care about his money or his position. They just cared that he was there, that he listened, that he played. For the first time in years, Adrian felt human again, but with that came fear. Could he really be a father? Could he fill the role she so desperately needed? What if he failed her the way life had already failed her? One evening, as he was preparing to leave, Leela clutched his sleeve and whispered, "Please don't go forever. Everyone leaves." Her words tore through him. For years, he had been running from love because love had taken from him once before. But as he looked into her eyes, he realized something. Closing his heart hadn't protected him from pain, it had only kept him locked in it. Perhaps this was life's way of giving him a second chance, of healing through love instead of hiding from it. Weeks later, Adrian stood nervously in family court. His hands trembled more than they ever had in front of shareholders or rivals. Beside him sat Leela, holding his hand tightly, her teddy bear perched on her lap. The judge asked if he understood the responsibility, the sacrifices, the weight of what he was choosing. Adrian's voice shook, but his answer came from the deepest place in his soul. "Yes," he said. "I may not know everything about being a father, but I know I can love her. I know I will never leave." When the gavel fell, finalizing the adoption, Leela leaned into him and whispered softly, "I knew you'd come." From that day, Adrian's life changed forever. The mansion that had been silent for years was now alive with laughter, with drawings taped to the fridge, with tiny footsteps running through the halls. The emptiness that once haunted him was replaced with love and belonging. He wasn't just a CEO anymore, he was a father, and every time Leela called him Dad, it healed a piece of the brokenness inside him. This story is a reminder that no matter how lost we feel, no matter how empty our hearts may seem, life can still surprise us with second chances. Sometimes, healing comes in the most unexpected ways, through the people we never planned to meet. Adrian thought his story ended with loss, but it truly began the moment a little girl asked him if he was there to be her dad. And if this story touched your heart, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to our channel Everyday Grace Stories, and share it with someone who might need hope today. Because sometimes, all it takes is a single act of love to change everything, for them and for us.